People used to ask me how I got myself into an abusive relationship, and then how come I didn't get out. Well, I'm going to tell you a couple pieces of information. First off, I didn't know it was abusive when it started. You see, I didn't have a dad that stuck around. I didn't have any brothers, and my uncles that I was familiar with were never around. They didn't interact with me. I had seen my dad hit my mom. I had seen my dad hit my stepmom and beat up my stepbrothers, and I didn't know that there was something different. I truly didn't know. And I would ask my neighbor. I would go down the street and I would talk to her, and I kept hoping that at some point she would say, "No, Emily, that's wrong," or "No, Emily, you should do something different." But the stories I would tell her were so shocking that she never had any response to me. And so pretty soon I just thought I was crazy. I thought that what was happening really wasn't happening. And I remember one day I went across the street to use my neighbor's phone because it wasn't safe to use the phone at my house before cell phones. And I called the police, and they didn't believe me. So it simply solidified the fact that I was crazy and I was misinterpreting the situation, and that what was happening was not really what was happening. And so what I did was I got faster and stronger and became acutely aware of things that were happening around me, sounds that my children would make that were different, that meant they were walking in a certain direction or they were encountering certain things. And I paid attention to certain schedules so that I knew who was supposed to be home when and where they should be and what they should be doing. I had a very heightened sense of every person that was around me in my home. I knew exactly how much time it took to get from one end of my house to another. I knew exactly how much effort it took to move my children out of the way. And I knew exactly how long it would take for certain bruises to heal and certain pieces of damage to recuperate. And I still thought I was crazy, though. I still thought that I had kind of lost my mind. It took me 4 years from the day that I knew that I needed to leave, that there was a problem, to the day I was actually able to confront him and make a change. It took 4 years because for the most part, people didn't believe me. In fact, there was a lady at my church, and when he left, she chose his side. She believed him. And like most people in my neighborhood and in my church, they chose him. And it was 2 years later that she finally came and sat next to me, and she said, "I owe you an apology." And I said, "Oh, really? Why?" And she said, "I just spent 6 hours in court with my daughter." And she said, "The same things that you have said, but I always thought that you were lying." But I knew my daughter. And I remember the stories that she had told. She approached me and she said, "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I misjudged you. I'm sorry that I wasn't a better friend." You see, people survive divorces for the most part. When I came out the other side, most people blamed me. Most people judged me. My oldest son told me to never speak to him again, and it took 6 years before he came back to say, "Why didn't you protect me?" He had no idea what I had done for him. My second son had chosen drugs and dropped out of school. You see, sometimes staying in the trauma is easier than leaving the trauma, because you know what to expect and you know the fallout that's going to come. And when I chose to leave, I didn't know the price I would really pay. I've lost everything, but I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't choose that again, nor would I ever ask anyone how come they stayed in an abusive relationship, because you have no idea what that situation is or what's keeping them where they are. You see, I had 5 children, and I didn't make enough money to take care of them outside of my home. And for 4 years, it was easier for me to move my children out of harm's way, have nobody believe me, have everyone think I was crazy, including myself, than it was to leave and start all over. Be kind to yourself if you're in that situation. And if you know someone in that situation, here's my suggestion. You be very clear about what help you can offer, and you step up and you offer it. I remember one day I was so tired I couldn't figure anything out, and my neighbor brought over dinner. That's it. It was lasagna from Costco and a couple bags of Caesar salad and a couple of bottles of soda pop. That was it. Super easy for her. It was already cooked. It made all the difference, because I knew someone saw me. I knew at that moment I wasn't invisible. So if you know somebody in a scary situation, you step up and you offer them what you can, and you be clear, because if you say, "Do you need help?" they can't identify the help that they need, because their situation is too big. I leave this with you. Please be kind. You have no idea what people are going through.